it's been a really, really long time since we've played this. So, if I remember correctly, and this may have been months ago, hell, it may have been 2022 the last time we recorded this. I think there's a really long cutscene here, but Unica kind of messed up, and some of the people part of their party are like a little bit pissed off at her.
Last I remembered, we fought these two crazy people, got back here, we're told, hey, don't do that again, stay here, bad girl, and then we stopped for God knows how long.
Yep. Some of that may be accurate.
Cutscene. All right, looks like we're actually on our way.
Oh yeah.
So, wasn't Unica like obsessed with like some goddesses or something?
Yeah, Lady Rhea, Lady Fina, the two goddesses, I guess she was like the maiden that like served them or something like that, and yeah, she was definitely really obsessed with them.
All right, so we're supposed to be looking for these goddesses, last I remembered. Right?
Sort of, yes. I think we actually encountered one of them already.
But the goddesses look like twins.
Yes, that is the case. Actually, throwback to a million years ago, but I believe I have a figure of one of these two characters. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, Zero over here went to an antique store and he got me. They had yeast figures, like blind boxes, and one of them I got was, I think it's the character from, I want to say Yeast 3. I don't remember. I'll fact check it later. And the other one, I believe, was either Lady Rhea or Lady Fina.
Oh, cool. Interesting.
Yeah. They look different, though, because this is like Yeast Origin, so they kind of change things a little bit. The figure doesn't look much like that. We made a video about it, too. Like, again, a million years ago.
Dude, that was like 2020 or like 2021. It's not a million years ago.
It feels like a million years ago. I would fact check it, but yeah, that was a long time ago.
So how many Yeast games have been created so far? I know this is supposed to be Origins, like before like the first one or something like that, right?
So if we have 9 officially released ones, this is a prequel. So this would be like lineage-wise, this would be 10. I'm not 100% sure if there's other ones. I don't remember off the top of my head, like spin-offs or something like that. I don't think so. But out of the main lines, they've kind of re-released them, like redone them a couple of times. I guess like remakes even. So like at one point they just started to re-release more modern versions of the original Yeast games, because the original Yeast games came out in like the 80s and 90s and stuff. And yeah, and then eventually, I forgot what this, I think this is 2011 or like 2006, maybe even 2007, we'll put it in. Yeast Origin came out, and they were like, yeah, we, you know, we want to go backwards in time. So this would be 10. They announced these 10, so there would be 11 once that one comes out, at least 11 main games. But that one hasn't come out yet. It's one of those things when they release a JRPG, they do it in Japan first. So there's no telling when we're going to get it. So it's coming out this year, but only in Japan.
Hey, you know, I mean, it's kind of, it's how it used to be back in the day. Games used to be released first in Japan, and if it did well there, it would come here. I don't know, I mean, I don't know if you know this offhand, if the Yeast games have been doing well here in the States or not, or in the West in general.
I mean, most JRPGs don't do that well in the West. Like, it's, you'd be hard pressed to like, to say a JRPG coming out in America is gonna do really well. There are some of them that definitely crack that mold. You know, crack the mold. They're really popular ones like Final Fantasy and stuff. But yeah, like no, I think by and large, like a lot of other JRPGs, Ys isn't the most popular, and you know, but the thing is, despite that, we have gotten a lot of them localized, like 8 and 9. I would be surprised if 10 didn't come out in the West as well. But yeah, it's whenever there's a JRPG that comes out, it's like we know it's coming out in Japan. You could go through like the crazy process of importing it and having to play it not in English and paying tons of money to get your hands on it. Or you could just assume, well, if they're going to release the other ones, maybe they'll release this one in America too.
I mean, there is always waiting for fan translations, which usually happen for games that don't get released in the West. It just sucks, really, because having to wait to see how well a game does in a different country, and it's a series you like, having to wait for that and just wonder, like, man, is it actually going to do well? Is it going to be crappy? It's something that kind of frustrates. It frustrates me as a fan of many other games, actually. Most of the games that I like have, been released in the West, but I'm actually currently playing a game that was not. So back in like the early 2010s, there was a Digimon World game released for the PSP, called Digimon World Redigitized. It was sort of like taking the first Digimon World game and sort of giving it like a whole new revamp. Different characters, sort of a different universe, but still worked like the original, but sort of upgraded. And I liked it. Like, I'm playing through it right now and I enjoy it. But back in the day when it was released, it was Japan only. And it frustrates me because I know that the first Digimon World game was popular. They could have easily released that back then. But no, what we ended up getting, like in 2012, was a crappy freaking fighting game for the PS3, which we really should put on the channel one day. So yeah, seeing how we missed out on that game, frustrates me, and I would hate to see you go through that with Ys 10 if it doesn't, for some reason, get released in the West. But again, there are always fan translations. That's how I'm playing mine. It's a good way to play it. I mean, obviously the voice acting is still in Japanese, but subtitles exist, so it's a good alternative.
Yeah, I would take subtitles. I don't necessarily need it to be dubbed, but if I'm not mistaken, usually when a JRPG comes out and if it's first in Japan, they don't include English subtitles. So, like, I can't just order it from there and just get it, like, worst case scenario. I would much rather have an English version of it, but if it really came down to it, having to pay extra to get the Japanese version, if it at least has subtitles, at least I can understand the menus, then, that would be enough for me. But no,
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, to me, it's always like this, where, again, they announce that it's coming out in Japan, and I get all excited, and I just can't help but think to myself, like, oh boy, I wonder what, it'd be like to get to play it. I hope it gets released over here. And usually it does, but not always. A really long time ago, in a land not so far away, the internet, there was 3 JRPGs that didn't get localizations, and the internet took it upon themselves to kind of like campaign for getting Nintendo to localize them, or to help localize them, because they were only released in Japan at that time, and it actually worked. I think that really broke some important barriers, because it opened up the idea that, just because these games are kind of niche and maybe they won't do amazing here in the States, that's not necessarily a reason that they don't have a right to exist over here. Like, they should try it to bring them to a Western audience and see how they could do.
That actually reminds me. Damn it, I was gonna say something else before. Now my brain is gone. But no, that reminds me of something else. So my first time dealing with a fan translation was actually Mother 3. And I'm pretty sure you already know the whole BS when it comes to the Earthbound/Mother games. So it's kind of frustrating to hear that supposedly, like you just said, Nintendo, a lot of fans basically petitioned them to release these games, and it eventually did.
Yep.
But I find it frustrating that, you know, we've been wanting Mother 3, like an official Mother 3 release, for well over like a decade and a half, and Nintendo's still just like, nah, not happening. You know, like that's annoying. That's frustrating.
It is. Obviously, I guess after that whole situation happened, the next question was, so from now on, every JRPG is going to be localized, right? Well, not exactly, you know?
Nah.
It just can't happen. And then also up to that point, there was already like backlogs of JRPGs that just weren't localized, you know? So were they going to just start going through every single one and localizing them? Not likely. But and for context, because I'm sure some people may be wondering like specifically what I'm talking about. It was a campaign called Operation Rainfall, and it was an attempt to get 3 localizations. It was Xenoblade Chronicles, which is now like a regular series in the US. Gamers of today, like, you have nerds on the internet rallying to thank for that becoming a regular Switch series, because that wasn't the case always, you know.
It's a popular series too. It's like last I heard, it's doing pretty decently.
Yep. There was that one. There was damn it. I forgot what the other 2 were. Operation Rainfall. I think what wasn't Vagrant Story. Oh, this is gonna bug me for the rest of the episode. But there were 2 other ones.
I'll look it up.
It really did a lot of good, I would say, for gaming, you know, just because finally we got a bunch of games localized that fans thought they deserved to be played by a wider audience. They just didn't get the chance to have that happen.
So, yeah, not to cut you off, Operation Rainfall began in 2011, and it was a push designed to release Xenoblade Chronicles, The Last Story, and Pandora's Tower.
Yep.
3 games released late in the lifespan of the Wii.
That's what it was, yep. I remember. And I was so mad because, honestly, I was with them all the way. I thought it was great that they did all that, and they got Nintendo to listen and to hear that that's what people wanted. I never ended up playing any of them. I know our friend Bulb is probably rolling his eyes because he loves the Xenoblade Chronicles series.
Didn't like a recent one come out and he put it like as one of his top games?
I believe so.
By the way, go watch that video on our channel if you guys are curious to see what our top games were from last year.
Oh, without a doubt.
But yeah, I love hearing these sort of stories where gamers basically band together and decide, all right, well, if the game developers or the publishers are not going to do it, we're either going to do it ourselves or we're going to bug them enough until they actually do it. I love hearing that. It's something that actually gets me really excited, and it shows me that, you know, sometimes some things aren't necessarily set in stone. Sometimes you can change some minds and actually get things working. I kind of want that stuff to sort of continue happening. I mean, hell, I'm a Digimon fan and I keep mentioning it even though we're not playing it. But last year we did get Digimon Survive. Not necessarily my cup of tea. Should probably make a review of that game.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it didn't necessarily do too well, like Bandai Namco is still saying, yeah, you're still getting more Digimon games. Don't worry about that. It's likely coming to the West. And I'm just like, oh, thank God. Then you have Capcom finally getting their shit together, deciding, hey guys, so we fucked up on our, releases, in the past decade or so, but hey, how about these nice little collection bundles? Like recently, we finally got the Mega Man NT Warrior collection, the Mega Man Battle Network games. Those are fun. I enjoyed those back in the day, and they're finally coming back. Who knows? We might actually start getting new ones, So it's nice to see that, developers and publishers are starting to pay attention a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think we have Operation Rainfall to thank, at least for some of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it wasn't until this conversation that I realized, like, holy crap. Xenoblade Chronicles is now like something that Nintendo regularly advertises, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like in YouTube ads, on the eShop. You know, you see the new ones in GameStop, and it's like that could have never happened if a bunch of people never just banded together and, you know, rallied to have them take a look at these games that otherwise would have been forgotten. Like that could have just been completely gone. And now I take it for granted because like, oh yeah, of course, Xenoblade Chronicles. That's that series that's now on the Switch, right? It's like, yeah, well, sometimes you forget about the beginnings, you know, like the origins. Whoa, I brought it full circle.
Oh wow.
Actually, let me correct that. I don't want to sound like a pleb, but it's actually Yeast Origin. There's no S at the end. A lot of time game developers will put the word Origins with an S at the end. But no, in this game for this game it's just Yeast Origin.
So you have a dash ability. I don't think you're gonna. There we go. I wasn't sure if you needed to keep the. Oh, you did switch your weapon. I didn't even notice.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you. Because you have 3 abilities, and now that I want to light this, I got to go back to the sword / the fire ability.
Yeah, I got to tell you though, that's something that I actually like. I like that they do this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and you know, I don't give a lot of credit to some of the more modern Ys games. Like I hate to say this, but I'm not a huge fan of 8. And 9 was good, but could have been better. But like the modern Ys games do a good job of keeping those ideas, those mechanics. At least from what I've played. Yeah, at least from what I've played, you do get a lot of that kind of puzzle solving going on, and it's pretty satisfying. One of the limitations though with the more recent Ys games is just because the scale, the scale of the game is so big that unfortunately I don't think they could make it quite as like it doesn't, like all the dungeons and stuff just can't feel quite as large, ironically, because the game overall is just such a big game compared to what Ys used to be, you know. Used to be this small RPG that has, you know, top-down visuals, fucking maze-like dungeons, and now the games have gotten so big they have to compete with the other JRPGs. They have to catch up with the times that I don't think they have enough budget in Ys to like properly do it, which is sad. You know, I want this series to do well.
Here's the thing: some games kind of need to stay small. And talking about staying small, that actually reminds me of something else. It's gonna be a segue, but I hope you don't mind it.
No, go for it.
My brother was over this weekend, and yeah, we hung out. We got to you know, watch some stuff together, play some stuff together. My mom's been getting into actually playing on the Switch.
Oh, cool.
Because yeah, my brother and I got a 52-in-1 board game thing. So we've been playing blackjack together on it. We played darts, a Ludo, which is just basically the original name of the board game Sorry. It's been fun, and it was Saturday night. It was Sunday night. Him and I sat down to eat some tacos together, and we watched this YouTube channel that talks about like old cartoon shows. One of them being Doug. You remember that show?
No, I forgot about it. Yeah, I remember Doug. I couldn't forget about that.
I used to love that show on Nickelodeon.
Me too.
And because it was on Nickelodeon, you know, their cartoons were usually 15-minute shorts, but 2 of them stuck together for half an hour, right? And it worked well for a lot of the cartoons. It worked well for Rugrats, Angry Beavers, Hey Arnold, even Cat Dog, all those shows,
Billy and
even
Mandy.
SpongeBob. Billy and Mandy was Cartoon Network.
Yeah, but they did the same thing. It was like two episodes per 30-minute slot.
Exactly. So it did well. And it's funny because my brother and I didn't necessarily realize, but Doug was a very slow show. It was a slice of life thing. This kid is having delusions of grandeur about these ridiculous situations that don't actually happen in real life because he's a nervous kid. And they're good. Slow episodes are good when they're bite-sized. But remember, Disney bought Doug from Nickelodeon.
Yeah, they did.
The reasoning why is because Nick had canceled the last season of Doug that was supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a chance to renew it, but they dragged their feet. And then the studio that owned Doug, because they got to keep their properties, was like, well, if you don't want to do it, you might as well find somebody else. And Disney was there to pick it up. But Disney forced some changes.
Uh-oh.
So instead of being like 2 15-minute snippets, it was a full half-hour episode. And for a show as slow as Doug,
it just didn't work.
Being an original fan, and I'm pretty sure if you go back and like watch, Disney's Doug, you're gonna be like, this isn't horrible, but there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. Something's missing. Mm-hmm. There's like something about this that's not horrible, but doesn't want me to keep going. And that's the worst part, because it's not bad. It's just, it doesn't feel 100% right.
It doesn't feel Doug.
It doesn't feel as Doug as it's supposed to. And it's funny because even the guy reviewing like that series was basically saying it really wasn't horrible. It's just something's off. It's missing that I don't know what. Je ne sais quoi. Like something's off. Even the original creator is like, yeah, in all honesty, I agree with most of the fans. The original Doug on Nickelodeon is still better than what we got on Disney. Mm. So I'm with the reviewer on this, that it's likely, forcing that change into something that didn't necessarily need it is what probably caused it to, not be as good. Even though Disney like gave Doug his own fucking movie, at the end of the series, unfortunately. Which, by the way, I don't know if you want to hear a spoiler or not about, Disney's Doug.
I don't care, but I guess I'll put in like a little warning for when the spoiler comes up, just in case people do care.
Spoiler warning!
Yeah.
At the end of the series, Doug fills up his freaking, his journal. Mm-hmm. And right as he finishes, writing his last page of the journal, Porkchop comes in, throws him a brand new one. And around the same time of the last episode, Patty Mayonnaise is like, oh, hey, Doug, you want to go to like this dance with me? Like, she asks him out. And I'm just like, oh, that's heartwarming. And that makes me want to go like all the way through it. Mm-hmm. But it's frustrating because it's hard because of how slow it is. It's hard to like digest it all because it's slow throughout. Even though it's not bad. So I think that's awesome. I never watched the Doug movie, and I might actually do it now. Simply just because of that, because our boy got asked out, man. That's like all of our guys' dreams. Like, shit. Get asked out by the girl that likes us. Fuck.
Yeah. Dude, you were not kidding. That was definitely a tangent. But you're not wrong. It was relatable. Real quick, before I comment on that. So what's happening here is that there's poison gas that's in this room, and there's not really much you can do.
You're losing health.
Yeah, because we're losing health. This is a save point, so I don't mind just saves coming it and running in and see if there's anything we can do. But yeah, we might have to like backtrack for a second. We might have to go backwards in time.
Rip.
Possibly.
Might as well. Yeah. But no, the reason why I brought that up, like you said, it was kind of relatable. I don't want them to change yeast to the point where it doesn't work with itself anymore, Like, I'm kind of sad that you described that the new yeasts are getting a little too big. And I'm like, well, no, this works fine. Keeping it a little bit small, keeping the dungeons, not necessarily bite-sized, but more intimate, is probably the best way to do yeast. What they need to do is change more of like the mechanics, or like different plots, or new characters to play as. That's probably what they need to change, not necessarily the core of the gameplay or like the game design.
Right. I've been saying since day one that, I like the new games. I enjoy that they exist. I'm happy to support them. But I would also like to see something in this style. Again, like a return to a more top-down RPG. And it's like, I don't mean to say that the new games are bad. That's not what I'm trying to imply here. But what I do want to say is that, because of the scale and because of how niche this series is, unfortunately, there's not really much that you can do to kind of fix, like, it's just to kind of compensate for the...
Don't fight, just go through the door. Oh, no. If you can never mind.
I got distracted.
Yeah, so just run through, dude, because I saw a door there. Maybe if you get through, maybe if you dash, actually, maybe that'll help you.
Forgot about dashing. Yeah, right. So by making them, I guess what I'm trying to say is that by making them bigger scale, it would be good if it was, we're talking about Final Fantasy, a series that just has a lot of money behind it, a series by a company that has a lot of money, and that would be able to fund it and put a proper budget in it to justify the scale. And that's not to say that every Final Fantasy game that has big scale is automatically better or is already being done right just because Square is working on it. But I would definitely make the argument that the Ys games are unfortunately too niche to be at the scale that they are, like that they're trying to make the newer games at. Again, I love them. I enjoyed visually Ys 8, not so much for like the story or whatever, but I enjoyed visually Ys 8. The gameplay was fun. I enjoyed Ys 9 when it wasn't really being so like buggy, laggy, slow down. But I can't help but think that they're just like bottlenecking themselves by making that, or I guess it would be like a reverse bottleneck, let's say. Like if you could flip that concept, I can't help but think that the scale for the budget, for the money that they're putting into Ys just doesn't work at that level, unfortunately. I think that they could really stand to benefit from making another one like this, maybe even making like a small trilogy of these. I think they could really stand to benefit from that, but it might be too late, now that they've gone full scale, full 3D, big open worlds, they might not really be able to go back now. But speaking of going back now, wow, we're in quite a pickle here. We may have to go back here and kind of backtrack, figure out what we're going to do. But that's going to be saved for next episode, because this episode has come to an end, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right. But we want to thank you guys for joining us, though, because it's been a while since we played Ys.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to finish this game out alongside with River City Girls 2, and whenever that will end up finishing as well. And yeah, looking forward to this. I'm still completely satisfied that we picked Ys to play as our other playthrough along with Digimon, and we're going to continue on. So, guys, let us know in the comments what you think about the episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Take care, everyone.